And here's A.J. Preller. He runs the Padres. We get a chance to say hello. A.J., it's a pleasure. How are you today, pal? Okay? Doing well?
Good, Chris. How are you? Doing well.
I'm doing well. Good to have you aboard. Thanks for joining us here. We got a lot to do. Let's do the big story here is close to you. The passing of your owner, Mr. Seidler. That's a big blow to the franchise. I'm not sure what it might mean payroll-wise, but it took something out of San Diego these last 2 or 3 weeks, losing a 63-year-old who was Mr. San Diego, did a great job for the city. Let's discuss that for a sec. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Peter obviously meant a lot to, the community of San Diego, our organization, the people in our organization, and clearly throughout the baseball world. And he's just a phenomenal person. He loved the game of baseball. He loved really everything that comes with it, the players, scouts, coaches. And, I think for everybody with the Padres, obviously, a huge loss. And, going forward, doing everything that we can do to maintain his vision and his legacy.
All right. Is the passing of Mr. Seidler have something to do with the $50 million? It sounds like you might have to cut from the payroll. Is there a connection here I need to know about, A.J., or it's independent? Let me hear. No,
I mean, I think for Peter, he viewed the Padres as something that was for his family. That's going to be part of generational ownership and everything that we've tried to do from the last few years in terms of building, excitement, the fan base, our team, our payroll. I think everybody's on board in San Diego. It's understanding this is something that year after year we're going to have a very competitive team, talented roster, and payroll that's going to support that. And I think from that standpoint, moving forward, we're in the same place that we've been here for over the last 5 years.
Okay, the manager scenario, Melvin goes to San Francisco. The Padres allowed him to go to a team in their own division, and here's Mike Shildt, who got a raw deal in St. Louis. He gets a second chance. Discuss that so far here in the offseason, A.J. What can you tell me with your manager switch? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think, with Mike coming in, he's, like you mentioned, he's very successful in St. Louis, over the 4 years, been to multiple playoff appearances, manager of the year. And he's somebody that, from our, when he left St. Louis a few years ago, he came to San Diego. He was looking for an organization that he could pair up with, bring his experience and his knowledge to our team. He's had a bunch of different hats here the last few years, but getting around our big league team, our system, our player development group, the front office. So he's very familiar with our team, our players. And I think the last 2 years he's had an education in terms of seeing where we're at, and he obviously brings a ton of great things to our team. So we're really excited about Mike in the manager chair.
Probably not the best scenario that your old manager goes to manage the Giants. What's your take about keeping him in the division? Was that a surprise? You had to give permission. What's your take on Bob with San Francisco now? Can you tell me there, A.J.? Let me hear.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Bob here for 2 years, and we went to the LCS in 22. I think Bob, very, from the whole process, how it played out, he explained that there was one job that he'd want to listen to if they called and asked permission for, and that was San Francisco. That's his home, the Bay Area. He managed in Oakland, obviously, for a long time, grew up there, signed originally with the Giants. So, as an organization, our respect for Bob and his situation allowed him to go have that conversation, and never easy in division, but again, that's probably the one job that he expressed an interest in. I think from our standpoint, want to make sure that people have an opportunity if that's there, and now we've got to compete against them.
Good job. That's a good answer. All right, how about Soto there, A.J.? We all know that he's on the block. Is this a definite? There's no turning back. That sometime this winter he'll be with a different ball club. Can we confirm that right out of the gate here, or no?
No, I mean, I think we're at that point where there's just a lot of different paths that our team can take. I think like I mentioned, Juan's obviously he's one of the best players in the game of baseball. He's incredibly impactful. Anytime you get somebody to where they have 1 year left on their deal as a 5+ player, questions are going to be asked. Teams are going to call and ask, ask about availability. We've always been a club that will listen on any different scenario, but there's a lot of scenarios that we can go down over the course of the next couple of weeks as we build our team. Juan Soto is a huge part of it, and I think that's again, from our standpoint, we saw what he did here in San Diego last year, helping us get to the LCS the year before, and then last year. He's kind of an offense by himself, so we understand that, and that's going to be all part of our factors and our considerations when we look to put our roster together for next year.
And he plays 162 games. I mean, you want pitching. You know, you could use some pitching. It sounds like Blake Snell's going to leave. We know Hader. So if you do trade him, you want some starters back. Is that correct, A.J., or no?
Yeah, I think for us it's really just about, you know, when you're talking about any of our players, it's all about value. You know, different. I think you know, different types of value packages that are out there, both, you know, from minor league standpoint to a big league standpoint. You know, our current team, as you mentioned, I think, you know, the biggest hole in need for us is in the rotation with you know, some of the free agent questions that we have. So, you know, we'll look at that. That doesn't necessarily mean one player, one deal, that we're going to line up that way from a need standpoint. But, you know, it's really any of the deals that we talk about, can we get the value that we feel like we get to? If we get to that point, then we'll look to make a trade on, you know, and if not, you know, we won't make a deal just based on need.
Listen, I know these things change by the second. Would you say right now the market is hot for Soto and you could see a deal being done in the next 3 days? Or if you do trade him, this is going to take a while. What do you see there timetable-wise?
No, I think like anything. I mean, obviously, like any of our players, you always want to make sure you take your time and, you know, see what's out there and flush out any possible scenarios. And each one of these moves have different, you know, domino effect in terms of our roster and other moves that may be out there in the industry. So for us, you know, we'll never rush into anything. But obviously, when you're dealing with a player of Juan Soto, whether that's signing him long term, you know, keeping him for this season in San Diego, or listening to teams as they call in, we're going to take our time and look to make the right decision because he's a huge part of what we're doing.
But the Padres next year, A.J., and you really should turn it around quick. You just do to have a better season luck-wise. 4-16 in extra innings is a perfect example. The Padres are going to try to go out there and win this division and be a playoff team in 2024, whether Soto's there or not. So you're going to make sure you're a good competitive baseball team next year, correct?
Yeah, we have, again, like I think, you know, we feel like we were a team last year falling short of the playoffs, but, you know, you look at run differential, record in one-run games, extra inning games, you know, just the talent that was on our roster. You know, when you look at a team that has, you know, Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis, some players like Ha-Sung Kim, Jake Cronenworth, Darvish, Musgrove. You know, it's a very talented roster. The foundation pieces are there. The core group is there. You know, and I think we feel very confident that, you know, playoffs in, you know, 20 and 22, and, you know, we've got a team that can go back again this year. We're going to look to do everything we can to get back to the playoffs.
Now, it's a good job you coming on here today first up, and I grill you right out of the gate. You handled it as a pro, as you always do, A.J. Thank you very much. Have a good week. Appreciate you giving us a few minutes here today.
All right, appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.